This is a breaking news alert, folks. First published by the New York Times that Donald Trump's former chief financial officer, Allen Weisselberg, is currently in negotiations to plead guilty yet again, this time for the crime of perjury, a crime that may have been committed during the New York Attorney General civil fraud case where Weisselberg testified in court and perhaps lied right there. And Weisselberg also may have lied during interviews with the New York Attorney General's office in connection with the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. Now, as of the time of this recording, we still do not have a final ruling from Justice Arthur Engoron, and Michael Cohen and I have both discussed how Justice Engoron is very meticulous in his rulings. He's probably dotting all of his I's and crossing his T's. Also, retired federal judge Barbara Jones, the independent monitor, submitted a report earlier in the week, a 14-month look-back report, which found inconsistent statements, erroneous statements, and other major problems with Donald Trump's financials. That's one of the reasons I think Justice Engoron has delayed his ruling for a week. But wow, in this interim time period, it seems like Allen Weisselberg has been in conversations with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, who was watching that testimony very, very carefully by Allen Weisselberg, and specifically where Allen Weisselberg was testifying that he had no knowledge at all ever about inconsistencies in the size and the scope and the
value of the triplex,
like the triplex. And so, Cohen, what do we know about this breaking news? What can you tell us from the reports that are out there, and what's your immediate reaction to this? And how do you think this relates also to the Manhattan District Attorney criminal case, where you're going to be a witness in that case, and that's scheduled for March 25th?
What it basically does is it provides additional credibility to the claims that are currently lodged against Trump. I think it's like 34 or 35 counts that have been lodged against Trump in this criminal proceeding. What it does is it also validates what I have been saying all along, that Allen has been lying. In fact, here's something that's really, truly amazing. When I was first notified of the charges that were going to be brought against me, and I'm talking about in 2018, one of the crazy things is that Allen Weisselberg had lied to the grand jury. And if you Google it, Allen Weisselberg lies to, Southern District of New York. They knew he was lying. And nevertheless, the Southern District prosecutors granted Allen Weisselberg immunity or limited immunity for that testimony. And it was just, again, it goes to show how fractured that this system is. Both Allen Weisselberg taking his cue from the orange-crusted Mandarin Mussolini, Captain Chaos himself. He's taking the cue from Donald that just doesn't make a difference. Say whatever you want. There's nothing that they can do. They're not going to be able to prove it. And by the time that they do, this whole matter will be over. And stupid ass Allen decided that that's what he was going to do. He was going to put his freedom, his life, his finances in jeopardy for a guy that has no qualms with telling him to lie. There's no doubt that all of this was orchestrated, as it was early on by the Southern District of New York, right? This is now the third time. He's charged twice, but this is really the third time that Allen Weisselberg lied under oath about stuff that is significant. It's one thing if he said, we tacked on, or I didn't know that we were tacking on $100 per square foot. This case would never, ever be in the news right now. But it's not. We're talking about taking an 11,000 square foot apartment, making it 33,000 square feet. And then on top of that, where I don't think we've ever achieved a price greater than like $5,000 per square foot, they have it at like $15,000 a square foot. And my math is not accurate on this, but that's basically the premise here. So you're talking about making the apartment worth like $300 million. I mean, it is so absurd. And for Allen to turn around and to claim that he doesn't know, when obviously not only did many people testify to the contrary, but I'm certain that they must have all of the documentation within which to have thrown the book at Allen. And I do think that they should actually use it to get some of the answers that Allen refused to give about Donald, about the Trump organization, and so many of the things that are part of both the New York AG's case as well as the upcoming Manhattan District Attorney's criminal case.
So look, this New York Attorney General civil fraud case, it took about 11 weeks, around 45, if you count the closing arguments. Weisselberg was one of the witnesses who testified live. These witnesses also speak to the investigators from the New York Attorney General's team, whether in formal depositions, and Weisselberg was deposed, as well as other statements that are taken even before the depositions as part of the New York Attorney General civil fraud case. And you probably remember, I'm talking to all of our viewers out there was that moment where Forbes, the writers of these stories, as soon as Weisselberg said that I was never contacted and never had notice from anybody that my own internal books and numbers were off, the writers from Forbes, who had previously called out Weisselberg and Trump for their inflating these valuations, they posted on social media right away, "We have the emails." And remember, then it turned out that Weisselberg may not have been turning over the emails and may have been hiding his communications with Forbes. And you and I, and also on Legal AF, we discussed, and maybe people thought it was hyperbole when we said that's a crime. And we think the Manhattan District Attorney is going to charge Weisselberg for that. He's got to be very careful. He could be charged again. Well, that seems to be exactly what the Manhattan District Attorney's Office was thinking after Weisselberg completed his testimony. And just to remind everybody, Weisselberg had previously pled guilty in August 2022 in connection with tax fraud crimes. He served some time at Rikers Island, probably deserved to serve way more time than he actually did, but he had a chance when he returned from Rikers to redeem himself, right? He had a chance to go through a mea culpa, to recognize the wrongs that he committed. But instead, what does Weisselberg do? He took a huge severance that the way the severance was treated, the payment structure was such that it wasn't paid out in a lump sum. It was like after Weisselberg testified, he had limitations as part of his severance about what he could say. I mean, he could, of course, in criminal cases, he can be compelled to testify to things, but the severance agreement had limitations and non-disclosure agreements and all of that. And Weisselberg doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on his lies for Donald Trump, someone who's happy throwing Weisselberg under the bus. And here we are now, where it seems that Weisselberg is going to be charged yet again. So that's big breaking news. Finally, Michael Cohen, final reactions that you may have on this, but also you think that the Manhattan District Attorney criminal case against Donald Trump for the hush money payment case, where Donald Trump misclassified books and records, unlawfully classified books and records, you believe that case is going to go to trial late March? You think that's going to be the first trial? And do you think Donald Trump's going to be convicted?
So there is going to go forward on March 25th. There's no indication right now that there's anything within which to stop this case from proceeding to trial on the 25th of March. Knowing the information which is documentary as well as corroborating testimony by certain individuals, I do believe that Donald Trump will be held accountable for his dirty deeds.
Well, there you have it, folks. And this plea agreement that is being worked out with Weisselberg, it seems to be, as Michael Cohen said, could potentially be a factor as well in the testimony that Weisselberg's going to give. We'll have to get more data there, but big breaking news.
Big news.
And I want to say this as well. We're going to put this on our Patreon, and we hope our patrons are okay with this. I want to share this video that we're doing on our YouTube channel as well, because there are lots of people on the YouTube channel who might not know about patreon.com/political beatdown. You and I held a Zoom meeting where we met all of the patrons. We got to see everybody who was a part of the Beatdown Club. So if you go to patreon.com/political beatdown, we do special podcasts there. We do after shows there. We do exclusive Zoom meetings there. You can send direct messages to Michael Cohen there. He responds on the chat and to as many DMs as he can possibly respond to. So it's a fun, interactive community, and it's a way we try to grow these shows where the overall network at MeidasTouch is not funded by any outside investors. The show isn't funded by any outside investors. So we rely on our pro-democracy sponsors and fun things like patreon.com/political beatdown. So consider joining it. And I hope, patrons, you're okay that we shared this exclusive one on the YouTube just to let people know the types of exclusive podcasts that we drop on our Patreon. Also, make sure you all subscribe to the Mea Culpa Blue podcast, wherever you get podcasts. Just search Mea Culpa. You don't need the red. Make sure you're subscribed to the blue. That's where you get all the new content. See you later, everybody. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Hit subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.